welcome to Your Soul Wisdom, hosted by Yana Amor Manocas. In each episode, we invite you on a transformative journey delving into the profound mysteries and wisdom of the soul. Join us as we explore a wide array of spiritual topics and sacred practices that nurture and heal the soul, from reincarnation and soul contracts to the enigmatic experiences of womb alchemy and astral travel. Our discussions are designed to enlighten, inspire, and deepen your understanding of your own soul's journey. With Your Soul Wisdom, nothing is off limits. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Your Soul Wisdom. Today, we are lucky enough to be joined by Megan Collins, who is the founder of Neuro Arts Therapy and Counseling, a psychotherapist, licensed marriage and family therapist, registered art therapist, consultant, educator, public speaker, and the list goes on and on and on. Megan, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so honored to be with you all today. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. And we've started with giggles, and that is just the best.
Yes, a little behind the scene.
Nice. So I'm going to jump in here. And the reason why Megan is gracing us with her presence today is because Megan and I are friends. We go way back. It's been a little bit of a break in communication, but we went to college together. Mm-hmm. And I love this story. So if you're not familiar with the college system, you can work on campus and you work your little minimum wage job and you pick a department and you go work in it. So we happened to be working in something called the Career Center together. And it was basically a hodgepodge of like, you want to find a job, we'll connect you with employers. And I don't even know what else we did. It was all a blur. I can't remember college. Okay. Because I'm a raging alcoholic. But my recollection of Megan back in the day, this is going back like when we were in our 20s, right? And I gravitated towards her because she was this no-nonsense, boundary-making badass. And she was someone who I was a little bit scared of. Back in my 27-year-old self.
Wow, hold on. Really?
Yeah. So she
Kylie scared of something
her boundaries
or someone.
And her sense of self like no other. No other. And I often think back to like, if I want to embody someone's like presence, that would be Megan. And so I was a little bit intimidated and scared of her, but I wanted to be friends with her because I'm like, this is going to be like a single white female situation. I'm just going to become her. I'm friends with her and maybe I'll have boundaries and be a badass, right? And so recently life gets in the way. We've had children. We've, lived life 1,000 years. And recently, we had the LA fires and Megan's based in LA. Can I just say she has an office in Beverly Hills? Like I know someone who has an office in Beverly Hills. And so during the LA fire, she'd offered a pro bono art therapy, actual clinical therapy session to help people who were impacted. And I had a friend who lost her house and she had a little girl, a little 9-year-old girl. And the little girl was just drawing. She was crying and she would be drawing and she was drawing. And I'm like, oh my God, this is not coincidence that Megan's offering art therapy to these people, people who are impacted. And then this little child this is her outlet. So it brings me back to connecting them both. And I'm like, how do we use art therapy to express trauma, troubles in our life? Can you go into how do you incorporate both of those?
Yeah, so art therapy is a mental health profession. You need a master's degree to do art therapy or to be an art therapist. And what I do is I help people bypass what we censor verbally and feel the emotions and express them through line, through shape, through color, through different art mediums, whether it's clay, whether it's drawing, painting. I also incorporate all the creative arts. So I encourage people to do 15-minute dance parties because it reduces anxiety and depression and boosts mood. But when we express ourselves creativity, we bypass the senses, the censoring that we're societally brought up with. We bypass the censoring that we've learned to do with our parents who maybe couldn't tolerate our big emotions or dismissed our feelings. But when we get it outside of ourselves and express it, we are able to learn from the material that comes onto the page. And art therapy provides this containment that not just in the time of the session, but also on the page itself. It also provides this this amazing way to look back on our pains and have a history of where we've been and how we've processed. So, working with the LA fires, right? We have an 8-week group of people that lost their homes in the fires, and they were able to express those things and share with a community that was also going through and could truly understand what was happening. This was a traumatic experience for them. And to find a place that was safe for them to express it all and find resources and connect with other people was really, really touching for me as a therapist, but also profoundly moving for these participants.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
So when I think of like art, right away, it's like that creative space, which is also dancing. It's a very creative energy. And it removes because my brain goes into the energetics, right? That helps remove blockages, heal, and release and all of
it does.
In our healing work, it's very much we never play back for clients what their session was because we talked about it, we healed it, we released it, don't go revisit it. But what you're saying is you have your clients or your clients are able to review their art to revisit that event
and reflect how they've come through and passed those moments and how they've learned to improve their distress tolerance. It's like a diary that you read back again and see, oh my gosh, wow, that's where I was. And when you have art and outside of yourself, you get to look at that pain or whatever it is outside of you, and it's profoundly validating to yourself. You don't need other people to validate that pain when you see it yourself. And then you have an art therapist to also validate what you've been through. And art therapy is a safer way to process trauma. That's why they use it with veterans for PTSD, right? Because when we create the art, I help clients and process it through the metaphor of the art. So I don't directly go, well, what was that traumatic experience? Right. I go, tell me about that red part of your art. What does that red represent? What is that person or object going through in this moment? Tell me about what's on the next page and what happened right before this page. And I stay in the metaphor because it's a little bit safer, especially, with people that have experienced trauma. I don't want them re-experiencing the trauma. And if they do, I want it to be safe and contained. Because I think a lot of clients have this fear of being yarn that is completely unraveled. Right. And so, what doesn't get expressed, guys, gets expressed. And so if you don't let it out in a way that doesn't hurt yourself and other people, it will come out, and it comes out in an ugly, uncontrolled way.
Yeah, I had, I think I may have shared this before, but this woman that I knew one time, she was an artist. I had never seen her work, but I knew it was a huge part of her. And one day she says to me, oh, come look at what I painted. And I always felt this tortured energy within her. And I remember we go down to the basement and she shows me her art. And it was this, you guys, I think I shared this. It was a Nutella bottle, a glass. And she had this rope tight around, she painted a rope tight around the Nutella. I never shared this.
Yeah,
No.
you did. I remember.
Okay, yeah. She
I don't remember.
she had painted this rope really tight around the Nutella bottle. And never, you know, and her family's looking at this like, oh my God, look how great you draw that. And I saw that and went, oh, this is a cry for help. Like she's trying to express her own health, food issues that she's having, her weight stuff. And nobody in the room is acknowledging, maybe just not outwardly acknowledging it. But I was like, oh, this is a conversation. Like she wants to reach out. She's trying to express, say the thing that she's not verbally saying. And it was clear as day what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, what's amazing about art therapy is that we now know through neuroscience that when we engage in art therapy and we engage in the arts, we develop new neural pathways. Neuroplasticity is generated. So we're literally changing our brain. And scientific research backed peer-reviewed studies tell us that when we're creating art and art therapy, that we reduce depression, we reduce anxiety, we boost mood, we improve cognition, you think clear, we improve memory. So you're not asking like, where are my keys? Where did I put my glasses? Right. So there's so many like mental health and physical health. And physically, we measure blood pressure. Blood pressure reduces. Cortisol, the stress hormone in your body that causes belly fat, reduces. So this is really an amazing way for clients to improve their overall health, and no art experience is required. So this is not just for artists. This is for anyone, wherever you are in your art journey, to just develop a new relationship with the art and yourself. And yeah.
I have another question for you, Megan. So have you found that people who have suppressed memories, are they able to recall it? Have you seen that through art?
Absolutely. So what is repressed and what is unconscious comes through in the art because we're not censoring it in the same way we censor our words. And so what happens is the participant or the consumer actually learns from their art. They notice things in the art that were not conscious to them, that were stuffed away. It comes out, and they can have a conversation with the art itself. What does the art need? What is it trying to tell me? What am I taking away from this? What solutions have I just resolved?
Crazy. So what prompts do you use to draw the creativeness out of people? Like I can imagine if I walked in, like I have an art background, and I would even sit there and be like, okay, you gave me a clump of clay. WTF, you know, how do you, what, you know, I'm going to draw a penis probably. What do you do with, you know, like,
you can analyze that. You can
analyze that. Yeah, we should talk about that. Yeah. Let's just stay with that for now, Kylie. Let's stay with that.
Made a penis out of clay.
Yes. Oh no, that would be a whole deep dive. I'm impressed. Yes.
Yeah, so the directive is kind of I try to stay in the moment. You know, I've grounded them, we've done some mindfulness, we've done some meditation. They're in the present moment, and what is still left over here that hasn't been resolved, that needs some attention today. And I'll give a specific directive based on where they're at and what they need. And they also have the option to completely do their own thing. So, you know, I may say, you know, do this and that and the other, and they may decide that that's not it for them today, and there's something else that needs to come out. And that's okay too. That's okay.
So can I ask, so if somebody comes in for a session, I don't know if this was just asked before, but you know, like I've got like all different kinds of versions of Amanda's like coming to this session. So, you know,
they analyze too.
Right. Right. So when somebody first comes into a session, is it that there's a table there that has all like different kinds of like paints and pencils and all that kind of thing that's there? So what is the first thing that you would say to them? Do they have to choose? They first choose a medium, is it?
Yeah, or else I choose the medium for them. For example, if I give clients clay and I just talk to them, 99.9% of the time they create something without even realizing what they're doing.
Okay.
Other times, I have clients that are struggling with their patience, and I know from personal experience that watercolor is extremely challenging if you're struggling with patience, because each layer has to dry before you go to the next layer to get your message across. So certain mediums are good for certain circumstances or problems or challenges that clients are going through. Other times I don't have a full art studio and I'm at a high school. I work with teens, LAUSD high schools, and I don't have a full array of art supplies, but I do have Sharpies, and I do have paint markers, and I do have collage materials, right? And so sometimes they have to work within the medium that I've brought for that day. Other times I do virtual sessions where clients get their own art materials to experiment with, and I give the directive, they show me the art afterwards, and then we discuss it.
So can I ask, so when you choose the medium, is that an intuitive thing that you do? Do you feel into what it is? And then
Absolutely.
yeah, okay. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I'm an artist myself. Yeah. So like through my own studies of art and my own processes, I'm able to help clients develop a new relationship with art. And I, how like it is normal for people to come into art therapy with a lot of judgment and a lot of anxiety. But this is absolutely perfect, because instead of a client coming to me and saying, Megan, my anxiety was a 9 out of 10 this week, I had a panic attack, I was on the bathroom floor, blip, 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 all of it, right? Just regurgitating like a story, right? I have them in the moment feel the feels, feel the anxiety, feel the judgment, because it is just a symbol of the larger problems in their life. And so they're experiencing it in the moment, and I'm helping them by kind of co-regulating with them, which is what we do with our children, right? But I'm helping them process and tolerate the distress in that session and move them through it. So when they leave the session, not only have they felt, they've expressed, they've contained, they've connected, they've been validated, they leave so much lighter. It's just such a relief to move through that whole process, and it builds your self-esteem and self-confidence too, because you leave there feeling like, wow, I just did something. I didn't just talk about it. I just did something that built new neural pathways in my brain, that boosted my mood, that relieved the stress and tension in my shoulders.
So I want to touch
on people.
Okay.
Sorry,
I've got lots of questions. I've got lots of questions for Megan about Megan, if you know what I mean, more than the process. And I'm like, okay, so sounds like you have to be super duper present yourself. And so I'm assuming that you are operating almost entirely out of your intuition through the sessions. And so that was kind of a question. The other question is like, do you intentionally set up your space? Do you intentionally set up you? Do you have an opening procedure before or after the client, for yourself personally? How do you sort of clean yourself up afterwards? Because it really sounds like you'd be dealing with really quite intense trauma most of the time. So I'm interested, I know this is so off topic, but I'm interested in your self-care.
No, love that.
That's on topic.
Well, it's off the topic of art therapy, but I'm telling you, I did go to art school, and I'd be that nightmare person that I'd be all constrained by me wanting to make it beautiful or anything like that. But even hearing you talk now has really changed my perspective. Oh God, I've got one more question. I'll get back to other questions and other activities.
Don't forget it.
Self-care one.
Yeah. Honestly, self-care is everything, because if I can't take care of myself, I cannot be present for my clients. And their healing is really dependent on a person that can be truly there and can tolerate their full range of emotions
Mm.
and can support them in their exploration and curiosity and healing. And so for me, like, mornings are my thing. Actually, this is so funny. This is off topic, but my daughter yesterday, set the alarm for 4 a.m. And I said, "Why did you do that?" And she said, "Well, I wanted my alone time in the morning before I got started, before you woke up." And it's me. She's doing what I do. She got this into her mind, but I'm role modeling for her. I get up, I have my coffee, I do me, I do my meditations, I set my intentions, I do my gratitude journaling, I do my stretching on my foam roller. I do me in the morning before anybody else wakes up. It's just so restorative. And in between my sessions, I'll indulge in creativity. I'll do my own art if I need to process what's going on in a session. I need to process how it's impacted me personally. I also visualize, because when we visualize in our brain doesn't know the difference between actually being there and not. So I will visualize putting a patient's journey to the side and in a container. So I can go back to taking care of myself and taking care of the client that comes next. I also, for me, spirituality is deeply connected to nature for me, and I'm a camper. So I go and I change everything about my routine and throw myself into nature and the awe of the ocean and the sunset and the creatures. It just is so restorative to me, and I need those trips. I always have something to look forward to for myself because it really expands my bandwidth. Connection and community is also everything to me. My fellow therapists, my friends, my teachers, my mentors, those relationships just sustain me.
Is anybody
So can I just throw something in there?
Is anybody seeing 8s and 6s and 11-2s everywhere?
Here's the numbers I was telling you about.
I'm having this rush of sort of inspiration, and even Megan even talking about how she looks after herself somehow is helping my body, I don't know, sort of rejuvenate. Even listening to the priority you give yourself, it really is inspirational and moving. So,
well, can I throw something in there? Right, but it's funny enough that comes up because it was something that I was going to write about, in a blog for our new and upcoming
Adventure.
And it was about that self-care. So it's very interesting that you speak about it because I know we all talk about our spiritual hygiene and things like that how we set ourselves up, but it was very interesting that up until recently, I'd only assumed that, your spiritual hygiene was for sort of like, I noticed because I'm really dumb, was for like spiritual people, right? So how do you set yourself up for the day? I had this conversation with my daughter just recently, but what had inspired it was the fact that I had to take my husband to work the other day. So because he was traveling and the car would just be left at work. So so he drove to work and then I drive the car back home so I can have the car for the weekend. Because we got 2 cars, but we're now 1-car family because of ULEZ, which anybody in London would know what that means. Can't drive a flipping diesel without paying for it, right? So anyway, so I drove him to work, I brought him back, and I brought the car back. But on the way to work, he obviously goes to work every morning by himself. So I'm in the car and I just start prattling. I start prattling about the war. It then moves into COVID, it then moves into the vaccine, it moves into everything else. And I'm rattling on at him. And then he just goes to me and then he says to me, and then jokingly, I ghost him. And another thing, but I was just joking. So he goes, no, go on, see what you've got to say. And I said, no, I'm only joking. So I stay quiet. And then I realized that he's got the bum warmer on his seat, the button that creeps up his bum. So I says to him, do you know about that old wives' tale? I said, and it's probably true. I said that you don't go sit on the radiator because it's going to give you hemorrhoids, right? You're going to get piles from it. You drive to work every day with that bum warmer on.
Don't come in my car, Amanda.
Right?
Yeah. I'm addicted.
You just ruined my seat
like
warmers.
a sandwich press.
Yeah.
Pete,
But
I want to get up feeling toasted.
100%.
no, I like it as well. Mine wasn't on, his was on. But I'm just thinking, and he flicks it off and he goes to me. Oh my God, he goes to me. I just want to go to work. This is my time. Get ready in my head. I'm going to work. I'm just getting ready in my head. I'm just, it's just a nice time for me to just drive to work, whereby I can just be peaceful and get ready, he says. And you've just wrecked it. He goes, I don't mind. He goes to me, I don't mind now paying the £12.50 to drive to work every day. And I was like, that's really mean. I said, that's not nice. I said, I'm just having a conversation with you. And he goes, but babe, listen to what you're spoken about. The war, and the COVID and the jabs. And now you're talking about piles. So I said, okay, then I ain't going to say nothing again. I said, because it's, you know what I mean? Because you're not being nice. Because I'm just, you know what I mean? It's because he drives to work, he plays his jazz and it's a nice time and everything like that. So like dropped him off and I drove home and I was thinking, yeah, that's really wild actually. Because I just totally messed up his whole prep for the day. And then I got in and I realized I'd woken up that morning quite agitated. And then I realized that I hadn't played my weight loss hypnosis in the night. So I woke up obese. That's what I thought. That's what I felt. So I woke up fat.
Can I just bring in a therapist here to unpack what just happened?
What, Amanda? Art therapy.
We have to be careful what energy we bring to the space, right? So it sounds like you brought this energy to the space, right? And also, like, I love checking in with your partner, like, hey, is this a good time for you? And then, like, everything that I'm doing when I'm doing self-care is normal stuff, but I'm doing it with intention. I'm intending to walk, to explore. I'm intending to walk, to care for myself. And that shifts everything that we normally do by just setting the intention clearly before we do it.
Yeah,
right.
I had no
to not put the bum warmer on.
Right.
I just got in the car and just...
So, right. You were like, I'm just conversing with my husband.
I'm just having a conversation.
Zero regard with like the fact that this is probably his quiet time.
That's his prep time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So I just literally threw a hand grenade in his prep time. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you know what I mean? You're not spiritual. What are you doing? Just drive the car. Go to work. Just talk to you on the way to work. But it was really, really interesting. And then I had a conversation with my daughter about how we prepare ourselves for our day, for in any way. It's not just about how you prepare yourself. So like how we've talked about spiritual hygiene before, how we prepare ourselves to our work, for our work, stuff like that for ourselves. But it's like, how do you actually prepare yourself for the day when you wake up? And that follows through.
I would encourage you guys to just try, maybe your listeners as well, it should start with any art materials you have. I don't care if it's a rando marker, I don't care if it's a highlighter, a pencil, whatever you have, and start mind mapping for your day in the morning. So whatever it is, the things that you do, just doodle around what the different things are, create different bubbles, draw symbols, lines, color, and do a mind map of what your day looks like, what your needs are. I think engaging in the arts and creativity in that way helps us move beyond our own productivity and roles of caregivers and connect deeper with our personal selves and needs.
I love that. I'm going to try that one.
I
Yeah.
don't understand.
Hold on. On the doodling, hold on, can I ask, sorry, Rachel. But on the doodling, that's something that I do all the time.
Yeah,
I will be,
it's
so talk, so what is it that I'm doing, that we're all doing?
So what happens?
So can I just throw in, sorry, Megan, can I just throw in there? No. I just want to add it to Lauren's as well, so you can talk. Yeah, I'm just going to stack it, right? So I doodle all the time. So right now, even as you're speaking, if I had my sort of like my book here, my manual book, I would be sort of like just drawing. I'm just so I'm always doodling. If someone's talking for quite a while, or I'm even in training sessions or things like that, or in discussion, I'm always doodling, always. So it's very interesting. So so speak on it.
Keep doodling, guys, because this is really helping you process. It's utilizing bilateral stimulation. You're using both sides of your brain at the same time. It's going to induce calm. It's going to reduce anxiety and stress. And it's going to make you process the information in a new and different way. And we should be encouraging our kids to be doodling. Teachers should be allowing doodling in their classroom, whatever, when they're taking notes and stuff. This should be incorporated, because it when we use our body in this way, we are and we're processing information, whether it's highly emotional or it's mathematical, right? This helps us to improve the cognitions and clarity in our thinking, improve our memory related to the material that we're taking in. So it's deeply helpful. And again, like, no art experience is required. You don't have to be an artist. Play. So I mean, we are desperately need to move beyond the productivity and caregiving and move into play again.
Yeah.
We learn 3 times faster when we are playing. And when we're creative and artistic, it's a deeply spiritual and soul connectivity that you can't find through just being productive and a caregiver.
Thank you. So, can I just ask, so that celebrity medium, that young guy,
Tyler Henry, I was just thinking about him. Yeah, because he doodles while he's getting his messages.
Yeah, he scribbles and scribbles, and then everything begins to come through. Is that part of it? Because I sometimes feel like that. Like, if I'm listening to somebody and I'm actually doodling, I get information, or it's almost as if, I don't know if the doodling sort of releases me into a space whereby I can access the information. Do you know what I mean? That's what it feels. That's what it feels like. And I've also heard that there's something to be said for, or is that automatic writing, whereby you'd use your left hand? No, if you're right-handed, you'd use your left hand for automatic writing, things like that, because it takes it out of the, I don't know, out of the, I don't know, the 3D or something like that.
Mine.
Yeah, you're accessing another part of the brain. And if you actually take any, like 2 different colors of any material, and you just bilateral drawing, it's super good for your brain. So literally using just both hands at the same time, and doing any motions or any drawing or any painting, bilateral drawing is very, very good for you. And when we use the left side, our left hand, we're stimulating the other side of our brain. And this actually helps us to access different areas where different traumas are stored as well.
You mean the opposite, not the dominant, the less dominant hand. Yeah.
Yes.
That's interesting about the traumas.
Well, yeah. And when you see kids like doodling, or especially using 2 hands, I feel like it's almost like common where you're like, no, don't just do random stuff. Use your one hand, right?
Yeah.
And like, I'm thinking about my daughter and how when she loves everything art. And so I always have stuff for her to paint or color or draw. And at first I remember when she was little, and she's only 3.5, but like, even when she was like 2, I'd be trying to like guide her. And then I was like, what am I doing? Like, I need to just allow her to just do whatever comes out.
It's never about a pretty picture, guys. It's always about the process, not the product. And I always, always, always have them explain what is going on. Do not interpret their art. Let them tell you the story behind it, because red means love to some people and red means death to other people. And so we need them to tell us what it means to them before we start interpreting. I absolutely have the education and intuition to see beyond, but I always start with their rendition of what's really going on to them.
Yeah, what I feel for me when I get clients who feel very stuck in life, right? It's that 6 energy, right? It's this creative, artistic, but we feel stuck. That flow is cut off. Yeah. I'm always like, every day, I don't care if it's for 5 minutes a day, paint, color, draw. If it's the ugliest tree you've ever created, it doesn't even matter. Just get that flow, because that creativity helps release any stuck energy. And now you're free flowing, which is maybe why Tyler Henry, as he's scribbling, all of a sudden there's this free flow of information that comes in. You know, which for me, it's only a distraction. Like, I can't do one and the other. I have to do one or the other. Yeah, I know, it's terrible.
No, try it, Yana.
Yeah. Whatever comes out is perfect as long as it's authentic.
Yeah. That's interesting, because when I do my session work, I use a lot of symbolism to drag out whatever energetic blocks they have. And I'm like, if they say I have a red crystal, I'm like, oh, you get to work on whatever I associate red with. I might associate red with creative, fiery, let's get it done kind of energy. But it's giving me perspective, because I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be the one interpreting it. Maybe I should let the person interpret what that color means for them. So it's kind of interesting, like sitting here listening to it, I'm like, that's kind of giving me a bit of a aha moment on, I am telling them what that means. Does that make sense? So that's really, that was an interesting observation.
Sometimes
actually,
to tell us what it means.
I was about to say, Kylie, we always want you to tell us, Kylie. But no,
what we think it means.
This reminds me of when my daughter was younger, very young, and she drew like, so it was like a stick figure, but it was, you know, circles and sticks and whatever. And then she drew another one, like a little one inside her. I'm like, oh, you know, mummy, baby, whatever. She's like, oh no, that's the thing that is attached to me that I don't like. So I'm like, Kylie.
Have you ever had clients like that where
my daughter's drawn an attachment? Can you
person's drawing something that's not attached to their trauma or anything that we can relate it to? So
but that was intuitive.
Like the exorcism, like talk me through. What do you do in those instances?
If like for me, because I tend to work with parts. I believe that we can speak to certain parts of ourselves, and I also am very we all have parts of ourselves, the darker parts of ourselves, the hidden parts of ourselves, the shameful, embarrassing parts of ourselves. And I think that all of those parts have their place. And I like to help clients integrate those parts back into themselves and gain some acceptance into them. If there are parts that are spiritually damaging or negative that need treatment, I'm going to refer to an expert like you guys, or a spiritual leader, or someone that can speak to those parts that I may not have the depth for.
And so this is why you're the professional, because I'd be like, let's cut that shit out. Let's go. And you're like, what can we do to incorporate it into ourselves? So this is why you're the professional and I'm just something else.
I think like for instance, I work with a lot of clients that are non-monogamous and kinky, and there can be like this shame and hidden part of themselves and repressed part, and how do we integrate that into our being so it's part of our wholeness and it's healthy and it's connected, and how do we do it in a way that is appropriate? And who do we share that with, and when is it safe to do that? And the integration leads to wholeness as opposed to repressing it and stuffing it and shaming ourselves. So that's kind of what I mean in terms of like these parts of ourselves.
That's amazing.
Is there like a symbol or drawing that you see often, even though it's different people sitting in front of you with their own different traumas? Is there like a related theme? Because I know in my there's like 3 or 4 themes that are so common. You see it almost every time. So is there something consistent like that?
Yeah, art is sort of universal in this way. But a lot of times, you know, even in the art, I see people presenting themselves from the back. which is very interesting and really speaks to their level of vulnerability and their level of safety. And so they'll depict themselves, and like I often have clients give me an idea of their family dynamic by drawing their family doing something together, which really shows me how the family interacts and how they're socialized. And so like the kid will like depict themselves alone from the back and their parents doing something together, maybe with another child or whatnot. I'm thinking of a particular drawing, but you can see right there the entire family dynamic, how that child feels in relation to the adult caregivers in their life, and how they don't feel completely safe expressing themselves just yet, because it is much more safe to depict yourself from the back, because confrontation or that front face-to-face is a little more intense for them. But yeah, with anxiety, right, we see a lot of drawings that are about the fears. We see a lot of themes of aloneness or absence, maybe not the full use of the page. With depression, sometimes it's people that use much more than the page. There's so much there that they can't even work within the container of it. It just all depends, but there's definitely a lot of themes and a lot of repeating symbols that I see. And that's part of why, like, I believe that we heal in creative arts through community. Yes, I do one-to-one, and I absolutely love it, and it's wonderful and healing. But I think when you have the group going through these processes together over 8 weeks, and then, expressing themselves, feeling the feels, and then showing it, and having other people connect to not just your experience, but pieces of your art. Oh, that was deeply feeling for me. I see that and I feel that, and I absolutely love creative arts healing in community.
That reminds me, do you guys know who Billy Corgan is from Smashing Pumpkins?
I just saw him at Osceola. Yeah.
Okay, I love him, love the music. Like, I love him as a person because, like, I just love listening to him. He offers so much. But something that I recently heard him say on a podcast was that so many times he would write a song, and on the surface, the song would be, the example he used was the song, presents as if it's about, his ex. But after reading it, or after re-listening to it, he's like, oh, I realized I was actually about the abandonment of my mother. And so the outcome of that was that he goes, I would get fans who would say, thank you so much for that song. It helped me heal my relationship with my mother. And he goes, but the song is about an ex-girlfriend. But he goes, even though subconsciously I wrote about my mother, people picked up on that, and it helped them heal that same thing that on the surface it doesn't represent. So I just think that was just such a magical piece of information, because it's that intention, right? It's the underlying unspoken.
It's a frequency.
Absolutely. Yeah.
With resonance.
Yeah. And the way, like, our relationships with our early caregivers are then unresolved needs within the relationship. Our early caregivers are played out in all of our relationships as we go on in the future. And none of it is our fault, but all of it is our responsibility. And so if we want to develop healthy relationships and healthy connections, we absolutely have to do the work. And the work a lot of times is going, what is these unmet needs that I have? And how does it manifest in my life now? And how does my early childhood wounds, like feeling not good enough, show up in my work and in my relationships and in everything that I do?
So can I just Megan, what you just said? Oh yeah, hold on. Yeah, like Kylie and I were just like,
it's recorded.
Yeah, did everyone hear that? Oh my goodness!
Write that down.
None of it is our fault, but all of it is our responsibility. Boom, mic drop. That is it. That's what everyone needs to know. That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
I will be quoting you from this point.
And it's funny, right? Because even in our work, like you see the energy of when people are emotionally unavailable. And then they're like, well, but I'm always attracting emotionally unavailable partners. And I'm like, yeah, emotionally unavailable people attract emotionally unavailable people, right? It's like this, whatever you haven't healed with yourself, you're going to search for that. And so for me, I had a unknown father wound. On the surface, I was like, oh, okay, my dad wasn't around. Like I was a mama's girl. Like it never, that's where it stayed. And then I noticed through my relationships, like, oh, I was attracting or in relationships with people who were emotionally or physically unavailable. There was that abandonment issue. And so I would abandon before I got abandoned.
That's right.
And I mean, and I'm 41 years old, still living in the trying to undo that whole thing. And it was actually Lauren very recently who shifted a lot of that energy for me, where because you work on it, but there's always, you know, not always, but you know, it's like I always knew there was more. And so the more like I became consciously available, because I can tell my clients all day long, but I still have my, you know, we all have our own stuff.
Yeah, we develop these core beliefs about ourselves from a very young age. And a lot of it is from relationships with early caregivers, whether it be teachers or nannies or parents or whoever, right? And whatever those core beliefs about yourself are, like, I'm not good enough, or maybe the core belief is I'm damaged, or maybe the core belief is, I'm stupid. We've heard these messages enough that we internalize them and we take them into the world, and we see the world as unsafe or whatnot. And we determine that it's not okay to be vulnerable, which prevents us forever having truly deep, authentic connections.
So let me ask this question. You work with children, right?
And adults.
Yeah. Well, yes. And of course, my point, the question was that because these core wounds develop as children, right? So as adults and as parents, is there something where you're like, if I could recommend this one thing to every parent and adult that works or has children, works with or has children, what's the number one thing that you would recommend to help children kind of like, I don't want to say avoid the core issues or misconceptions that they develop, but how do you help nurture that?
I think as much as children need to know how to do the dishes and do laundry and all the basic skills of their life, you need to teach them emotional regulation. Do not let your child leave and go away to college or trade school without knowing how to regulate their emotions. And we do that by co-regulating with them. When they're feeling big emotions, let them feel it, let them express it, and help them cope. Teach them ways. Let's do breathing together. Let's go on a walk together. Maybe we should play a game together. Let's make some art. Could you show me what that looks like? Help them feel the emotions and express them in healthy ways that don't hurt themselves and don't hurt others. That is the way. That is the most beautiful gift that we can give our kids for their psychological well-being. Let what they tell you when they come to you and share with you, let them know that you're really grateful for that. That means a lot to me when you come and share that with me. Like that when your friend told you that was kind of mean. And how does that, do you feel that you are truly a selfish person, or do you feel like that was more about your friend's stuff? And I kind of just let her tell me. And I really appreciate her ability now to express her emotions and to come to me with big things, hard things. And I think that's the gift, is our presence. And we're busy. I'm just assuming here, we're busy moms. And what I started to do is 10 intense minutes. 10 intense minutes where you're fully present, fully connected, and doing something together. And it could be, we do 15-minute dance parties. We absolutely love that. Resets the home. But you could do anything for 10 minutes. You could tell stories, you could play games, you could do anything, but being fully present with them, even for a short period of time, just is so impactful.
I
So
love
I
that.
never really did any. Yeah, I love that. I kind of maybe did something like that with my kids when they were young, but like more together. Like that thing I explained a long time ago, I spoke about on our way to school, we would like say something nice about each other and stuff like that. But I find that I've done that more as they're older, that that we have that time for them to be able to express themselves or to speak to me, because I find that every child's very different. So, you can provide them with that time, but, based on who they are and how they do, they don't always utilize that, or sometimes they don't trust it in a sense, because that can happen as well. Do you know what I mean? That every, your other children come to you with everything, and you have that one child that he's an island. Do you know what I mean? And, and doesn't until it's literally nearly too late. But but I also think about in terms of culturally growing up that culturally for me, you never had that with your parents. Well, me as a black person, and like African Caribbean, you never really had that. I mean, my parents were kind of like, big emotions. When you got big emotions for, it will be, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? When we say, I'll clap you and give you big emotions.
That's
like,
right. I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I'll give you something to cry about. Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? If you think, and it's like, as children, you weren't allowed to get angry or be upset about something. Do you know what I mean? I remember years ago when, when Dallas was a big thing. I think I spoke about this. Dallas was a big thing in my house, So we'd be all watching it, and we had like other cousins and that staying with us. We'd all be watching it. I'm the youngest person in the house, apart from my little sister who wasn't watching Dallas. But I'm like 9. This is back in the day before mobile phones and everything like that, So it's the house phone, and the house phone rings. Nobody goes and answer it. Do you know what I mean? But everybody's telling me to go answer it. I've got nobody calling me. I'm 9. Nobody's calling me. So you know what I mean? So the chances are I'm going to have to go and answer that phone and then call one of them to come and take their call. But everybody was making me go and do it. My mum was there and she was like, somebody better answer that phone. Everybody's watching Dallas. So I had to go and answer the phone. So then I shouted out, I was mad. I said, I think it was like my cousin, Sammy, the phone's for you. And I put it down, he came. And my mum threw a shoe at me. Came for me because she thought I was being rude, exhibit anger. But I'm thinking that makes no sense whatsoever, because I shouldn't be answering the phone. It's definitely not going to be for me. Do you know what I mean? So we weren't allowed to like show emotions like that. We weren't allowed to
That's right.
cry. And our parents had no time to sit down with you and be giving you 10 minutes of time. You ain't getting that.
Right. That's right. And what did you learn about your emotions? That you were too much, that you weren't allowed to feel, that like all of those things. Like I remember being told you should be seen and not heard.
Yeah, I remember those.
Stop crying. I'll give you something to cry about.
Cry for, yeah.
That's right. And so what do we learn from that as kids, right? We don't have the full like our brains aren't fully developed until our mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
And so we learn like, that we're not good enough, or that we're intolerable, or that we're not lovable, or that we're too much, or, that we're a burden. And like we internalize these things and we take them into our adult lives, and we feel that way when we ask questions at work. There's that burden feeling again. We need something from our friend, or we need our partner to listen, and we're feeling that burden again. We're a burden. We're too much. It all stays with us until we take that moment to realize that and go back Because when we go back with our adult minds to some of these circumstances, we can understand and process it in different ways than we could as a child. As a child, when our father wasn't there, we started to think, God, like, what did we do or what did we not do? Maybe I should have called. Maybe I should have behaved. Maybe I should have got an A. And we start to think that their absence is something that we did or caused. And we believe that if we had just been better in some way, that we would have gotten the love that we needed and deserved. And
isn't it terrifying to think like my parents or like my husband's parents, like I'm very aware of that mentality. I'm very careful with, you know, I don't want my kids to grow up damaged like I did. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to expose you because I've done this work to put you in this bubble, and you're going to go to grandma's house and you're going to get a shoe thrown at you because you broke one of her chinas, you know? And that's why I'm like, you know, it's like, it's a huge discrepancy between that last generation, I feel like, and our generation, because we're doing the work. The millennials, the Gen Xers or whatnot, we're doing the work, but the boomers are not. So it's interesting to see them. Yeah, I called you all out.
I think it's, you know, I think that, like, you know, those generations and like those parts of our culture, I think that we don't necessarily disconnect or detach. I don't think that's always the healthiest answer, but I think it's processing with the kids when they come back or being there during those experiences. My daughter will point out, they broke the rules. She's very rule driven, and it becomes a problem because sometimes she'll tell her friends, well, you're not supposed to share food at school. But I think putting her in some of these different experiences and co-regulating or processing it with her, because we cannot prevent, and even as a therapist, I can't prevent hard things from happening.
No, but it gives them resilience with flexibility, right? Like in the different situations. Yeah,
that's right.
Like
and
their own.
Flexibility is like the number one mental health skill to take away with.
Yes. So one thing I've noticed, so when my kids were little, I took them to a lot of different practitioners. They had some, you know, not super serious things, but they needed some assistance, right? So I ended up seeing a chiropractor. And my son, he would have been 3. My daughter was literally in my tummy being treated but they were not chiropractic itself, but NET, which I've mentioned before, which is neuro-emotional technique, right? And so that is a little bit different, but you know, they find a charge in the body, they find the emotion. Well, how does this make you feel? Like what upset you? How do you relate to it? And then we release it. But what I found with my kids is they will come and say, hey, I'm this happened and I'm feeling this way, or can we go see Uncle Bill? You know, so that we can process this. But you know, they come to me, and other times you know, something will happen, say with my son, and I will expect at that next appointment that, oh, this is going to be something that he's going to need to talk about. Oh no, he's fine, because he's actually been able to deal with it, because he's actually very used to working with his emotions. So for me, it was kind of a happy accident, because I was trying to sort out my own life, you know, when starting these treatments as well. Like I was, you know, I was depressed. My dad was dying when I started these treatments on myself. And, you know, they went because of other things, but it ended up being this beautiful, happy accident where they are not scared to talk about how they feel, which is just such a gift. And, you know, thank you to the universe for bringing that along.
Yeah.
So, you know, can I just add an interesting point here, is that the kids now, I mean, like my kids, they're not kids, but they're like, you know, 27 and up, you know, they actually call, I guess, regulating their emotions, they actually call it crashing out. So I don't know if you've ever heard that term. So
No.
I actually call it crashing out. So, you know, and it like goes through our group chat. Like if something happens at work or somebody does something, you know, they'll say, listen, I'm about to crash out, right? I'm about to crash out in a big way. Do you know what I mean? Or it's stuff like that. Or we'll actually say to them, you know what, don't, and their thing is that crashing out in a good way is crashing out and getting away with it, right? So like nobody actually knows that you've crashed out, but I've proper firmly put you in your place, or I've told you what's what, you know. Or they'll send or they'll send like a message to say, hey guys, I'm about to crash out on this person. We'll be like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. You know what I mean? But it's really interesting that, I do think though that young people today, they're very aware. And you know what? They're very aware of how they're feeling, what they're feeling. And I find, and I don't know whether or not it's just my lot or not, but you know, they're very willing, I think, to get the help that's needed in order to be able to process that. My generation, that's not even an option. You know, that's a weakness. It's not an option.
That's right. That's right.
You know,
and it,
you know,
and it, yeah. I absolutely identify with that. And growing up in the 80s, you know, like, it definitely was seen as a weakness and super stigmatized. And I think times are changing.
Yeah.
And I'm really thankful for, you know, the people in our communities and even some celebrities talking about their spiritual journey or their psychological and emotional journey, or sometimes it's about illness and how, you know, they've dealt with disease or disability. You know, I do this. I'll tell you a little bit about why I do this. At 4 months old, I was diagnosed with neuroblastoma, which is a childhood cancer. And I had the chemotherapy and radiation and a bone marrow transplant and many, many surgeries. And what I learned from that process was that mental health, spiritual health, physical health, all of these ailments, diseases, conditions, pain, affects not just the person, it affects the entire family. And I myself found profound healing from my trauma through engaging in the arts, through theater, through dancing, through music, through painting, through singing, through creating. And that's why I became a licensed marriage and family therapist. That's why I also became an art therapist, because I want to help people use that pain to transform themselves and to help other people through being truly present.
Thank you, Megan.
Beautiful.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Right, ladies, why don't we give Megan a special little preview of something we love to do when we close our episodes. Lauren, who's an exceptional writer, always has something beautiful and profound that she's written.
Okay.
Maybe sometimes not even necessarily about like what it is that we're talking about, but it always ties in. So Lauren, without further ado.
Okay. I wrote this a while ago and I haven't read it for a little while, but in this conversation I was drawn to it. So here we go. Dear heart, the pain that you hold was not put there to stay. It needed somewhere to live until I could be okay. Strong enough to feel it through, to see it, to touch it, to hear its cry too. It is safe now for you to let it go, to feel the depth of its darkness, not anything you do not know. You did so well to protect yourself. You helped me survive and shelter myself. But now these walls must start to fall so my soul can lead. I can hear it call. To embrace this existence, to feel all there is. If you keep holding on, we're going to miss this. This heavy feeling inside must go. The pain in my chest that blocks my airflow. It is safe now for you to shift. We are older. We are stronger. I know we've got this. I thank you for all that you have ever done. I trust in you like I do the sun. For the sun will rise and fall each day. Not something I question. It is seated in faith. Can you feel the angels come near to take our sorrow and our fear? Feel the healing, the love, the protection. You have all of their affection. There is no need to hide. The time has come to step out and stand tall, dance to the beat of our own drum. The one that is full of childlike wonder, that loves with all it has to give. The one that lives in joy and peace. The one with the strength of all the trees, that moves in flow like the great ocean, that rises like a star after an explosion. Time to lift the veil that has kept us so small. Dear heart, there is so much for you to give, but what you do not realize is this. It is time for you to open wide so you can receive the love that is inside.
Beautiful.
So beautiful.
And
Easily
that is
Thank you
my
so much,
therapy.
Claire.
Yeah, that's your
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is my new number one. Lauren.
I know. I
Moment.
almost squeezed out a tear on that.
Yes.
Almost a tear. Almost.
Yeah. And our brains are literally like driven to protect us. So that's why we produce anxiety. And that's, that protection mechanism after a while can become more of a problem than a helper, because it can get in the way of our own intimate relationships with ourselves and others. And to see like you articulate that and process that through words is really beautiful and very touching.
Thank you. And it's a creative process for me in that I don't sit there and think of the words that rhyme, right? I hear them
Right.
and then I write them, so I feel like it's more in flow like art rather than like, oh, I'm going to write about my healing journey,
That's right. Yeah, you do go into flow, and that is part of the arts and creative process. And you feel that flow, right? Where it just kind of comes out, where it just, and
then I instantly feel different.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. And now our Kylie moment.
How do I follow that?
I know.
Okay. Well, I did pick some cards. So we do a card poll. Cheryl Richardson's self-care was a bit in tune with the topic today. So 2 fell out. We've got achievement and progress. Okay. So the energy of now is around, what are you working towards with your dreams? What are you wanting to fulfill? It's there. It's there energetically, and it's a charge forward. It's a progress. It's putting one step into action. So whatever is coming up, especially in the energy of March, the energy is very much, a little bit crazy, but take that and really hone in what you want and proceed forward. That's it.
Thank you for interpreting that, Kylie.
Yeah.
Can I add something?
I'll take it.
Yes.
No.
I just had this little sentence pop into my head like that. Even if you don't feel like you're making progress, you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we write that down too? We're just going to come with a whole line of merch, and Megan, we'll give you credit for that one that you said.
Yes.
We'll give you credit.
It will be a Megan t-shirt.
There you go.
Megan, why don't you let our listeners know how they can work with you, where they can find you, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so they can visit my website, megancollinslmft.com. I'm on all the socials. I'm constantly posting mental health tips. I'm posting coping skills. I'm posting art directives. I'm posting inspirational and motivational videos. I'm on podcasts. I do guest public speaking. I write a blog. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me everywhere. I love virtual coffee dates with collaborators. So if you have, you want to get to know me more, you want to work together, let's have a virtual coffee date. And any listeners that are interested in using art therapy or creative arts to heal can contact me for a free consult. And I'm happy to, connect with people beyond just work. I think that when we connect, we thrive.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Concludes our episode, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. If you're interested in booking a reading, a healing, a guided meditation session, a Lightbody activation, or simply want to say hello to Rachel, head on over to yoursoulwisdomshow.com. We thank you for allowing us to create this beautiful space, and we hope you have a beautiful, blessed day. Bye, everybody.
Bye.